Hello and welcome back to Desert DIY. If you are new here, my name is Corey. Today I have a huge surprise for you guys. I am going to be working with a whole new machine you've never seen me use before, and this is something I have been wanting to do for so long. I'm going to be doing 3 projects, and I just want to say thank you so much to Cricut for sponsoring this video. Because of you, I get to do even more cool stuff for kids who really need it. And this first chair I got from a thrift store for about $20. I couldn't believe the deal I got on this amazing antique chair, and these are the fabrics that I'm going to use on it. I'm going to be upholstering this chair, and then I'm going to use my Cricut and my heat press to put on a monogram on the back of the chair. The product that I'm going to use for the monogram itself is going to be this everyday iron-on. I'm going to be using the white sheet in that packet, and I'm going to be heat transferring it onto the fabric that goes onto the back of the chair. So I just went to Cricut.com/heat guide, clicked on Easy Press 2 because that's what I'm using, and then I selected the iron-on, which is what I'm using. You're just going to pick what material you're using, and then once you're done with that, you check your fabric and see what it's made of. So the fabric that I am using is 100% cotton, so I'll show you that right here where you can find it, 100% cotton, and you're just going to put that in the selection right underneath your iron-on, and then it's going to tell you exactly how to apply it to your fabric with this machine. It could not get any easier than this. It tells you the degrees, how many seconds, and you just set that on your Easy Press 2. I'm just going to do a quick dry fit and make sure that everything is going to fit and that the piece of fabric I had was big enough. And then I go on the computer to the Cricut app and I am looking through the search area. I type in monogram, and then I just picked one that had a font that I really liked, and you're going to click customize. Once it pops up, you just select it and then push detach, and then you're going to go over to that letter on the right hand side and find image info. And then you're just going to click down here and see all of the other letters that come in that image info. So you can pick out the letters that go with your initials. So that's what I do here. You can select all 3 initials at once, and then it'll paste it onto your project that you're working on. So I find all 3 of my initials, paste them on here. Now I'm just going to delete the other ones because I don't need those. And I'm just going to arrange these in the right order. When you're doing a monogram, you do your last name in the center and then first and middle on either side. Then I just pasted in a cute little frame around the outside. I ended up changing it later on, but just so you get the point of how to do it, I'm going to show you exactly how you can get a background and put the letters inside. So I just took the background, and then I'm going to right click it and then send it to the background. That way I can move around my letters in front of it. And all I'm going to do is just play around with the size and the alignment and make sure that my letters are looking really nice together inside that frame around the outside. And there's also a button at the top where you can actually set the alignment to be centered so that they're all in the same distance between each other, and it makes it so easy. It's just like working with Microsoft Word, in my opinion. And then you're going to select it all and attach them together, and then you're going to click weld. Now that's going to weld all these together as one solid project together. So like I was saying, I went ahead and changed that background little frame area. I liked the Greek style one better than that first one that I was using. And then I just looked at the scale on the sides where it tells you the inches and made it to the correct inches that would fit my chair. And then you click on make, and make sure that you click on the mirror button when you are going to do any kind of iron-on or heat transfer. You see that mirror button right here? You have to do that because of the way that you iron it on. It does it backwards. Now I'm just going to attach my vinyl, my heat transfer or iron-on vinyl onto my cutting mat, and I'm going to put it shiny side down, and then I push the little arrow button which feeds it in, and then when my project is ready and fed into the machine, I click the flashing C button and it just cuts everything for me. And while it was doing that, I used the heat press to iron out my fabric to make sure that there wasn't a whole bunch of wrinkles going on over there. And usually when you're doing upholstery, it's always good to iron. And I love the fact that this heat press is such a big surface that I ironed it really quickly. It's pretty much twice the size of a normal iron. Now that my piece has been cut out and I weeded out all the background of it, I am going to lay it on there and preheat it and then lay it on again, and then I set it on here and the timer was set for 30 seconds according to what the guide told me to do. Then when that's done, you flip it over and you do it again for another certain amount of time depending on what you're using, but for this it was only 15 more seconds. And then you're going to let it cool a little bit before you peel it off. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the upholstery started on this chair. You guys have seen me upholster a whole bunch of times if you have been watching my channel. If not, and you are new, thank you so much for watching, and this is the method that I use a whole lot when I'm reupholstering something. But I use this spray adhesive. I like Loctite as a brand. It's just what I prefer. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. But I'm going to use this polyfill quilt batting, and I'm going to do only the quilt batting on the back side of the chair since it does not need to be cushioned. It just needs to have the illusion of being cushioned. So nobody's going to put their back on the back side of the chair. So it doesn't really matter how comfortable that part is. I'm just trying to cover up the texture of that broken area in the back there. Now that this has cooled a little bit, I am just peeling it off, and look at how perfect it is. That was so fast. I feel like I'm going to just monogram everything now. And I want to say thank you to Sarah. She is a viewer of mine, and she offered to send me an electric staple gun just out of the kindness of her heart. And she also sent me a little card inside, and I really appreciate that very much. I'm going to be using that staple gun that she gifted me in the mail for this entire project. The chair project, at least. The other two projects are going to be completely different than this one. But I just went ahead and started stapling this in. This was my first time doing this sort of backside of the chair like this, and it was a little difficult for me. It was just kind of a learning curve because I'm just trying to find the right spot to staple it in and trying to get it perfectly tight without kind of wrinkling the monogram. So it didn't turn out perfectly, but that's totally okay. I'm keeping this chair. Obviously it has my initials on it, and nobody else is going to want that unless they happen to have my initials and like all the same things I like. But I am going to use this as my crafting chair in my little studio room that I do on my projects. Now it's time to cushion the seat. This part does require a cushion, and so does the back of the chair. So I am just gluing it on and then cutting to the perfect shape to customize it. And then I take the scissors and kind of curve the edges a little bit by cutting off the corners, like the really sharp edges. And then I put the same quilt batting over, but I did this quilt batting like in a double layer. So I just folded it over and then cut it so that there's two layers to make it a little bit more cushiony and more forgiving, covering up that foam. Now I just stapled all the way around the edge and cut out around the backs of the chair there where there's those wood poles that connect the back of the chair to the seat of the chair. That part was really just the hardest part of it, and it wasn't even that hard. I got this fabric from Joann's, and the other two fabrics that I'm using were from Walmart, and I just staple it all on there. I'm not worried about my staples showing because I am going to be using some ribbons to cover that in the very end after I'm done with stapling all the fabric on. And this project, the whole thing probably took me about 2 hours of work without counting like me taking a break to go check on my kids and things like that. So really wasn't that hard of a project, and the hardest part was the upholstery, and I cannot believe how easy it was to do that iron-on monogram. I'm telling you guys, I'm going to monogram like everything I own. I love monograms. Comment down below if you're the type of person who loves to monogram everything. Now I'm going to do the back of the seat, and I'm doing the same exact technique. I am just cutting the fabric, or the cushion, sorry, around to be the exact perfect shape, and then I round out those sharp edges with the scissors, glue again, and then I do this extra little padding on here. And then once that is done, I can put on my accent fabric, which is that pretty blue and pink floral that I showed you in the beginning of the video. And I used the Cricut scissors this entire time. I don't know about you, but when you get a new pair of scissors and then you use it on fabric, it's the best. I'm just using my Easy Press again to iron it nice and neat, so that way it goes on really smooth without any wrinkles. And then I just used that staple gun again and stapled all the way around. It took quite a bit of staples because of the way that this upholstery project works. It needs to be stapled a whole lot in order to keep its shape. So I reloaded the staple gun about 4 times throughout this entire project. And the staples that are in here are T50 staples. And then I just cut around the edge again, and the way this chair was shaped made it kind of easy to know where to staple. So if you're working on something and you're not sure where to staple it, just kind of go with the shape of it and where you can hide them. Then I just hammered them in so that way I can go back and glue on this ribbon around the edge to cover the staples. Since this was my first time doing a chair like this and my first time using this electric staple gun, I didn't do the most amazing job with placing the staples in like perfect lines. So I ended up having to use a couple rows of ribbons to make it look like it hid the staples a little better. And I did the same thing around everywhere where I did the staples. And there is a special type of hot glue that you can use to do this that is meant for fabric. So that's what you're going to want to use. And after doing this project, I am ready to get rid of this hot glue gun and get a cordless one. I don't know about you, but cordless is where it's at. I'm like wanting to buy everything in cordless. I got this little extra like what would you go, tassel ribbon, I guess. I got that from either Walmart or Joann's. I can't remember for sure. But I did get this blue ribbon from Joann's, and it's like $2.99 for about 3 yards. Here is the chair all finished. Look at how cute that is. And as I was talking about earlier, I had to do quite a few layers of the ribbon. So I tried to make it look intentional when I was covering up those staples since they weren't aligned very well and it was kind of hard to cover them. But you know, you win some, you lose some, and I'm keeping this chair. It's got my name on it and I'm so happy to finally have a cute, pretty, comfortable place to sit when I craft. Here is project number 2. It is just an old picture frame that I got from Walmart. I don't even know how long ago. And it had a drawing of a horse inside it. And I just flipped that drawing backwards. And then I pulled out my Cricut app again. And I started making a to-do list board out of this old frame that I wasn't using. I'm going to be able to write on this with dry erase markers because of the little glass on the front. So I thought that would be perfect. And I've been having a really hard time trying to remember who gets what furniture when I'm donating it. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be using this board for, and you'll see that at the end. But I just went and pushed the text box and wrote in things I should probably get done soon. And then I play around with it. I played around with the font and changing the alignment and how it would fit. I wanted to make sure that this would fit on a 12 by 12 cutting mat, and you'll see what I mean by that later. But for the lines of the to-do list, you just click on the square and make it into a line just by dragging it. And I copied and pasted them 10 times instead of having to make 10 of them. That way you only have to do it one time and just copy paste, copy paste. And then when that was done, I decided I wanted to create bullets for each line. So I just clicked on the circle and sized them and copy pasted them so that I had 10 of them. I just want to mention to you guys that the Cricut Explore Air 2, which is what I'm using, can cut over 100 different materials. So the first thing that I showed you guys was my iron-on vinyl. Now I'm going to be cutting regular vinyl. And then my third project, I'm going to be cutting the infusible ink, which is really cool. You're definitely going to want to see that. But it can cut over 100 materials. So the 3 things that I'm showing you is just like hardly anything compared to what it's capable of. It can cut glitter paper, cork, fabric, leather, foil, so many different things that it can cut, and I cannot wait to see what this machine can do. It is such a big value for your money. And if you're somebody who's been watching my channel that is trying to start like a second business or something like that, then doing custom work for people using this Cricut, you could totally start an Etsy shop or create things for your friends and family. This is my first time using it, and it has been extremely easy to do. But it's just cutting now. I just adjusted on the little knob there to cut regular vinyl, and then I'm going to use this weeder tool. I didn't show you how to weed on the first project. It was just so easy that it went by fast and I forgot to record it. But for this part, I wanted to show you how you weed it out, and some of the fonts are easier than others. This one happened to be a really easy one, and then the lines were super easy to weed as well. So you just take that tool and get out all the little spots that aren't supposed to be there, and then you roll on some transfer tape over that, and then that will pick up these stickers for you, and then you lay it out on your project, smooth it out, and then they stay permanently. For those of you who have been watching for a while, you know that I am an eyeballer. I don't measure. It's just the way I was born, and it's never going to change. But for this, I just eyeballed it center, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. I usually do. But it went on really easy and smooth, and I just made sure that as I was pulling this back, they stayed on. If anything kind of lifted, I just laid it back down and pushed it down harder. Then I just threw on all these lines, eyeballed them to be about the same distance apart, and then the same thing with the bullets, and that was it. I was done. I now have a custom to-do list that is sarcastic as I am. And here's an example of what I've already used it for. I have people's lists of what I'm making them and what they need and all that good stuff. Now I'm going to start working with this infusible ink, and it is really neat. So it comes with like a butcher paper and then the ink, and the ink itself looks way lighter than it's gonna look once it's done, like once it's transferred on. And this right here, I'm making a shirt for my daughter. She is really interested in becoming a crafter and fixing up furniture. It's like she wants to be part of the family business or something. But I just went on to the Cricut app again, and I went to their pre-made designs, and I saw that they had this cute little shirt that said assistant crafter, and I thought that was so perfect and adorable. And all I did was click on it, click customize. It threw it onto my project for me, and there was a second layer on here. You can see underneath the scissors. So I just deleted that to make it easier so that I didn't have to do any kind of layering with this. And then I just adjusted it to the size I was going to need it for on the shirt, which it already was. And then I turned the knob on the Cricut to custom. And then it immediately pops up all these different things that you can cut. Like I was saying, it can cut a lot of different things. So I clicked on the infusible ink one, and it was ready to go. You can see on the machine the little C is flashing, so it's already ready. I fed in my ink on my cutting mat on the machine, and then I just go ahead and cut it. But remember, when you're doing iron-on stuff, you have to click the mirror button. So here I am just sticking it on to the cutting mat and then feed it in, push the flashing C, and it does all the work for you. I have that heat guide up on my computer right next to me just so I can keep making sure that I'm following the instructions. And I got this done perfectly on my first try, and the ink, once it's like heated up and transferred on, it becomes so vibrant and it looks so pretty. I can't believe how it turned out. I'm so happy with all this cool stuff that the Cricut can do, and I'm barely even scratching the surface on this. I'm really excited to figure out what else I can do and how else I can use this machine to make things for my family and friends, and for my endeavor of donating to kids who are aging out of foster care. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to hit subscribe down below to help support my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!